This episode of the Red and White Podcast is brought to you by Nick Overcash at Prime Lending. If you're in the market for a new home, building a home and need a construction loan, or just refinancing, do yourself a favor and reach out to Nick. If you're just now starting to think about your options, talk to Nick. He's got the experience to get you the best solution for your situation. Everybody's situation is unique, and you need that experience. He's a Pack fan, and we have to support our own. And speaking of, if you mention this podcast, he'll support you by offering you $500 off your closing costs. That's a win for you. That's a win for Nick. That's a win for the podcast. So check out nickovercash.com or call him at 919-854-4457. You can ask him financial questions or just talk to him about Wolfpack football. Either way, he'll be just as happy to talk to you. All right, folks, we're back with another edition of the Red and White Podcast. I'm your host, Evan, here with my co-host, Dustin. Welcome back, buddy. How you doing?
Good. It was a complicated week last week, but I'm ready to talk the Sun Bowl.
Oh, the Sun Bowl. Give it to us. How are you feeling about NC State getting the Sun Bowl in El Paso?
Well, it had been, projected for a while. I still think it's trash. There's a couple of things I'm mad at. I don't like Louisville jumping us just because they have Lamar Jackson, I guess. I don't see that Louisville's going to travel that much better than we would have. And Notre Dame's still in the game. I mean, you're either in the conference or you're not. I don't agree with the whole best of both worlds for Notre Dame. It's trash.
Yeah, I don't disagree with either of those statements. I think there's no chance Louisville should have jumped us. I mean, in all likelihood, Lamar Jackson doesn't play that game. He has no reason to.
Yeah.
So, what's the draw there? I mean, they're not going to out-travel us by that much, which is crap. And Notre Dame, 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out, whatever benefits them. I don't like it. I think that's garbage. I've come around, though. I think the matchup, at least the fact that it being a Pac-12 team, I think is interesting. It's not something that happens all the time for us and for the ACC. So, I don't know. I've kind of come around to that. I think the players really get screwed the most. I didn't look at the bowl gifts. I meant to pull it up, but I think they basically get like 4 tacos and a handbag or something. It's not great. And I don't know if they wanted to spend their, Christmas week in El Paso. It's impossible for families to get to. It's hard to travel to. That's the part that I'm disappointed in, along with the process. I think the game itself is fine. It's not super exciting, but I think it should be interesting.
Yeah, a Florida game there I could have possibly pulled off and went to. But it's not even I'm not going to pay a lot for a flight for a bowl game that I don't care about, and Frontier will start flights into El Paso from Raleigh in March, but they're not there yet. So I'm not paying that. We looked it up to drive, and it is a 1 day and 1 hour drive, and that's nonstop. So that's not happening. Right. I got a buddy, I think, that's planning on going, but, good for him. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I've made the drive before, but it's just not one you want to do.
Why did you make a drive to El Paso?
We drove cross country.
Oh.
So, we took 2 weeks, so it's a little bit different.
Right.
But, if you are making the trip to El Paso, I guess the closest thing I would say is go to Carlsbad Caverns. It's worth the drive. It's awesome. But as far as the game, I think the whole process with the bowl selections, I think is crap. How often do you end up second in the ACC and second in the Atlantic and end up in El Paso?
Yeah, it's a very state thing to have that, 6-2 in the conference and go to the Sun Bowl. That's very NC State.
There's been a lot of, I think Carolina went recently, and there's been some good teams from the ACC that have gone. But the fact that the Sun Bowl, I don't know if they're that high in the pecking order or if they just somehow, I don't know how it works. The bowl process is crazy. But the Sun Bowl seems to get decent ACC teams, and I just don't think that's right. you're not rewarding anybody by sending them to El Paso. And it's
Right.
just that's the problem I have with it. Whether along with other things, people being jumped and I don't know. I think it's trash. I think it's not good. The whole how it happened is not good. You know, I'm sure it'll be a fine trip, but it's unfortunate that a lot of Wolfpack fans won't be able to make it just because it's one that's just really hard to get to.
Yeah. Yeah, I could have even possibly done Shreveport, but not El Paso. So
Yeah. El Paso is supposed to be a pretty cool city. It's just, you know, the location is just impossible for us, and that's the hard part.
yeah,
I don't know. ASU's Arizona State themselves, I think it'll be an interesting matchup. You know, if both teams play like they can play, it should be a lot of points. It should be one of those games that, at least one of the more interesting bowl games. I don't know what their situation is. I mean, their coaching situation is crazy. Have you been following it?
yeah. So their coach, Todd Graham, right? I think, or was
Yeah.
got fired. He's still going to coach the bowl game, and Herm Edwards has meanwhile been hired and is turning it into an NFL franchise. Is what I've gotten out of it so far. Like,
That statement they put out is so strange.
yeah, it's weird. It means he has no idea how to be a college coach.
I mean, he hasn't been a coach in a long time, let alone a college coach in a long time.
Yeah, he's not someone like a John Gruden who could just step in and do it, you know. But
We'll get there. Don't worry. We'll get there. No, it's like, it's strange. Like, why would they put that out and talk about basically having a GM and layers of. I mean, it was buzzword bingo in that thing, man. It was crazy, that statement they put out. It was just didn't make any sense.
no, and
And
even when he was in the NFL, his style doesn't match the Pac-12. I don't
No.
understand that at
it's
all.
an awful fit. It's even weirder when you add in the fact that his former agent is now the AD at Arizona State.
Yeah,
It just seems like one last money grab or something for Herm Edwards. I don't know what it is, man. It's nobody saw it coming. Nobody thought it was a good idea, and they're retaining all the assistant coaches, which is even crazier. Like Todd Graham's not good enough, but we're gonna keep everybody else underneath.
yeah, that's very very shady. I don't know. There's a lot that doesn't make sense about that.
Todd Graham had to be banging somebody's daughter or something. I mean, that's only a situation where that's
It
acceptable.
was Arizona State,
Or-
so
Oh, dude. I mean, if you're gonna go to any place, Arizona State would be the one with some talent.
I
man.
guarantee
Holy
you,
cow.
Gottfried is sending in an application every day.
Yeah, y'all need somebody? I'll help.
I'll do it for free.
Yeah, right. Speaking of Godfrey, now we'll get to that one too. Make sure we put that one in the notes. That's an interesting development. A little teaser for you. Bradley Chubb, think he's playing the bowl game?
I don't. I was very adamant last year about the if you're going to be there, you should play, quit on your team kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm coming around to not completely not, saying I'm not going to play, but I think it should be bowl dependent.
Right.
And I guess that's a judgment call, and that, gets a little iffy, but if we were going to the Gator Bowl, sure, play.
Yeah.
But the Sun Bowl, I just don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play. I don't think he needs to play. He's got nothing else to prove. He just won the nation's Defensive Player of the Year award. First time in NC State history. I mean, that's like, dude, your stock is as high as it's
Right.
going. I mean, he's got to be top 3 if I had to take a guess, depending on who gets those picks. But I have no problem with him not playing. In fact, the biggest benefit of the bowl games is getting the younger kids reps, getting them those extra bowl practices. So let's get, Roseboro some more snaps. Let's get, Tyrone Riley, some of these guys behind him some more snaps and get them some experience.
Right.
I have no problem with it. Yeah.
Well,
You got anything else football related?
I really don't. I mean, this is kind of a dead week.
Yeah.
We've got something kind of football / recruiting to talk about later with a local winery that I know a bunch of people are upset with, but we'll touch on that later. I don't have anything else.
Well, I guess we got to talk about this since you weren't around last week. Dave Dorn is staying at NC State. Dave Dorn was very close to taking the Tennessee job.
Jesus, man. Okay. I know why you're bringing this up. Okay.
People want to know. People want to. People are like, "Where's Dustin? We need his input on this. How does he feel about the situation?"
I
That's why I'm
think
bringing it up.
I think Dave Doran is a good coach for NC State,
Yeah,
especially with where we're at. I think Dave Doran would have been a terrible coach at Tennessee.
yeah.
I mean, okay. you I
Give it to
understand
us.
I understand that Doran plays Dabo close. But for him to have to play Nick Saban every year, Georgia, where the SEC East is, I mean, they're turning around pretty well. You know, you got Dan Mullen there. Apparently, Kirby Smart can coach. I didn't see that one coming, but I just don't see it working out at all. And it was going to doubly screw me because I wasn't going to be happy with him there, and then it was going to set recruiting at State back multiple years. It was going to be my doomsday scenario. I didn't have enough liquor ready for that. But no, I think he's good here. He was not going to work at Tennessee. He would have been out of a job in 3 years.
It's one of those things where I still think it to be dependent on his staff and like what he would have done, what he would have brought to Tennessee. I mean, you can make the argument that he's been really close to winning pretty big here, and with better talent and probably better talent at Tennessee, could he do better? I don't know. I think Tennessee could have done a lot worse, and I guess it's still pending. But I'm happy he stayed, and if anything, it's for the recruiting because I think he would have pulverized us. He would have just taken everybody out of North Carolina.
Yeah, he would have.
Tennessee.
It would have been bad.
And, yeah, he's recruiting really really well in North Carolina, and if he brings those connections to the SEC to Tennessee, which is really close by, it's not good. It wouldn't have been good for anybody. So I'm happy he stayed. I think there would have been a lot of unknown. There would have been a lot of, well, maybe you could do better. I mean, there's other coaches out there, but I think if you kind of step back, and we talk about this a lot, looking at the bigger picture, he's doing the right things. He's got to go in the right direction. He needs some of the things to fall his way. But I mean, he's got a top 21. His recruiting class is 21 this year. So he's carrying on. He's doing that thing. He's coming as close as you can to putting that fence around the state. And I'm happy he stayed, and I can't wait to see the details of that contract. I've heard it's heavily incentive based, and that's what I think it should be. So, good for him.
And I mean, he turned down $1.5 million a year to stay here, so that says something.
Yeah,
I think
it was substantially more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was about a 5-year, $4.5 million. Is what they were offering. So he turned down, guaranteed money. That's a good sign. I was pretty pissed off that he was even talking to him, but I can't blame the man for trying to make money. So I can blame him for trying to screw up both my teams. But
I don't know. I don't even know if this is a money grab for him. I honestly think he was trying to get out. I don't know if it was like riding the positive wave or whatever. It didn't seem like a money grab. Like certain other coaches seem to do that every year.
Right.
Maybe it was. Maybe it's not. But if it's incentive based contract, then I have no problem with it.
I mean, he had the contract extension that he wouldn't sign, banking on his one loss at the time.
Right.
And it didn't turn out well. So this was the only way. I don't know. I can't blame him for listening. If you've never looked for any other job, then you can judge that. But I have, so I can't.
Yeah.
That's just life.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been. I don't know. My one thing is that he just has, and he kind of did at the press conference, have to win back a little bit of the excitement and the love behind the fan base, and he just said, I want to be here. And he gave every typical, press conference quote that you could possibly imagine. But I think the fact that he was shopping around kind of rub people the wrong way after he says, I want to be here. This is where I fit. We're, blue collar kind of school, et cetera, et cetera. but it's nothing that winning won't cure. And he's already doing a little bit of that with winning on the recruiting trail, at least. So, I don't know. Just some random thought on that one. That's all I got about football. We'll jump over to basketball if you don't have anything else.
No, that's good.
Picture this. Your buddy's a Falcons fan. You're a Panthers fan. You go to trashtalktext.com, and once a day, for 2 weeks, at a random time, he gets a text reminding him the Falcons blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. That's quality entertainment. Check out trashtalktext.com and send your friends anonymous trash talk about their favorite team. As always, if you're interested in learning more about sponsoring the podcast or our sponsors themselves, check out redandwhitepodcast.com/sponsors. All right, so we're back, and man, it's been an interesting week in basketball, or interesting early season. I don't know if you watched that South Carolina State game, and did you watch it?
I turned it on. I was gone. I was out of town, and I got a text from my buddy that was talking about CPR on the court.
Right.
That's when I got back to my mom's house and turned it on, and just a very, very sobering experience, wasn't it?
That's crazy. That was the same thing. I was playing with the kids. I wasn't really paying attention. My phone went off. I looked at it and they're like, "Dude, you watching this?" And it's like, "Holy crap!" They're giving this dude CPR on the court. I mean, that was insane. I'm glad he's okay. That was just crazy. I don't even know what to think.
Yeah,
it's.
I don't know.
They saved his life on TV, on live TV.
Yeah.
Man, that was wild.
So, I mean, from the trainers to EMS and everyone, kudos to you.
Absolutely.
Also, something else I saw that was pretty cool. PNC, so they took him to Rex after, and I saw, I think it was somebody that was tweeting the David Glenn show that it was a dad and his child that were at the game, and they went and saw the player in the hospital after they left, and just to check on him and tell him he was okay. And I thought that, state fans take a lot of heat for being an abusive fan base, but stuff like that, that's first class. So
yeah, that's big time. I didn't heard that one. That's big time. That shows a lot of. That's a good lesson to teach your kids too, man.
Absolutely.
Kudos to that dad. I think there's been a lot of positive things about state fans lately, and I just don't think it gets enough press. I mean, that story should have been out a little bit more. So, thanks for bringing that up. That's good for that family too. I mean,
it is, and
I like hearing that.
And the guy was, I mean, they said he was just, I guess, kind of blown away that they came to see him, but he really appreciated it. Small things like that. So that was excellent. Moving on to actual basketball, I mean, they had a good win. There again, it was South Carolina State, especially after that happened. But I think they were up 22-5 when he went down. So the game was pretty much over. Put up 100 plus again, so that's nice. It's just they're a fun team to watch. They're going to be some frustrating games, but it's fun to watch right now.
Yeah, I mean, 7-2, right?
They're 7-2.
Got to feel pretty good with that one.
Yeah,
right?
I would think so, especially when you look with a win over Arizona in there. Arizona's not playing great, but they'll end up probably top 10 by the end of the season. So that'll go. 2 losses, that UNI isn't great, but Tennessee's in the top 25 now, so that's a quality loss. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I don't think UNI will be a bad loss by the time the season comes. I mean, they seem to always have one of those games, and they're a good team. They're always in the tournament, that kind of thing. You see Northern Iowa, and you're like, who? But they're
right. Upset special in March, man.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun watching this basketball team. I mean, I keep coming back to that. It's an enjoyable style of basketball. The guys are playing hard, which is good to see. They're trying to play defense. I like it, man. despite the record, despite the outcome, it's more enjoyable.
No, it's a trip because I can't, for years and years, especially like the Carolina game, I've cussed. Like, oh man, they press. Apparently that works. We should try it sometime. And here they are. They press about every time on defense. It's beautiful. By playing a press defense all the time, flips around the other way. They're better at breaking the press. There's immense benefits. If they're going to chuck up threes, I wish they made a few more of them. But there again, that's just the style. And it some games it'll work, some games it won't. It hadn't fell at all before the Arizona game, and then they lit Arizona up from outside. So they get some better shooters on the team next year. I think they're going to be a top 25 team in a year or two at the most, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're exactly right. I think it's the style of play everybody wants to play. I think it's the style that people want to see. I mean, you watch Carolina play for a long time, and man, they get the ball up and down fast. Why aren't we doing that?
And it's weird seeing us do it now.
Now we are. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I really enjoy watching. What always blows my mind though is watching Yurt drain threes. I mean, I know he can play, but man, he can.
Yeah, where did that come from?
It's
amazing what happens when a player actually gets coached.
Right.
You know, my thing.
I really like it.
I was never worried about Keats' coaching ability. I mean, he won at Wilmington. If you win there, that's fine. And he would always play these Virginia, he had the close game against Virginia, close game against Duke. So I knew he could coach. I was worried about recruiting, but that's obviously not an issue. So looking at the future, if he played Duke and Virginia close with significantly less talent than he has at State, I mean, those games are going to be wins in the future. So there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I enjoy it. So I'm happy for it. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. Competition, coming up is not that great. They got the Penn State win. We didn't mention that. That was a good win against Penn State. Penn State team that had they've been playing okay. I think Penn State had a pretty big win. Maybe they beat Pitt, but Pitt's awful. But Penn State was up 11-0, and typically you see, I don't know, maybe it's just a State fan in me, but somebody goes up 11-0, nothing's going right for them, and we would have just collapsed before. Well, this team fought back and actually, they whipped them in the second half, in the second part of that game. And it got closer at the end with some free throws and that kind of thing. But that was a hell of a turnaround there. They went on a huge run. They took the lead. They fought back. They played hard. I mean, I don't know. It's just refreshing. That's all I keep coming back to.
Yeah. Totally different team.
It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out. But, that's all I got about basketball. I'm happy for it.
I'll say that they'll lose some games that they should win, but they're also going to win some games that they should lose. I think is fair.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. They'll go on a super cold streak or something, and whatever. But again, like you saw, beat Arizona. I mean, that shows some of the potential if they do everything goes right for them.
And the two losses they've been in, if they shot a little better, it would have been totally different.
Yeah, hadn't been blown out. Yeah, we didn't get beat by William and Mary this year, so I'm happy.
Yeah. And some of these, the games where we've been behind and came back, that wouldn't have happened last year.
Yeah.
We're not going to come back from those huge deficits.
Exactly.
So I don't have anything else about basketball.
Speaking of last year, I do have one more thing about basketball. Mark Gottfried is politicking hard for the ECU job.
Whew.
You want to talk about a volatile mix there.
I wouldn't like that, though. He's a good enough recruiter but it's hard. I don't know. Because that's Chapel Hill East. It's tough to get people to even care there, but I think he would probably do well there if he could keep it in his pants. But there's always that chance. So
somebody put out on Twitter and it said, "Oh, if Godfrey gets the ECU job, he'd kill it there." I could give credit to James Curl. He said, "I think you mean smash." It just made me laugh. Yeah. It made me laugh for a good 5 minutes.
Good chuckle out of that too.
It was perfect. That was I don't know. Godfrey's gonna be interesting to see what happens there, but we're jumping around here. But who's your football? We got football lock of the week. I think there's only one game left. Right?
It's the Army Navy game is the only one this week. Didn't Army win this game last year? Yeah,
They did. I think they did.
I think the spread's Navy -3. I don't know where it's at. But they play in DC every year, don't they?
They always play it Philly or something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would take Navy -3. I don't know. I pull for the underdog every year, so I always pull for Army.
Yeah.
But
well, just for fun, I'll go opposite. Go Army.
yeah,
Jeff Monken. They beat Air Force without throwing a pass.
yeah,
that's impressive.
That's boring football, but it's impressive.
They're that's your style, man. They ran it. They're averaging 390
When that's
yards
your
on the
only
ground.
yardage, I
That's
mean,
insane.
you have to. So, yeah, it's a fun game every year. It's the pageantry of it's cool. The ending when what is it? The cadets or midshipmen, either one, come down on the field. It's pretty cool. Pageantry, good stuff.
I used to go to a lot of games at West Point when I was a kid. When I lived up in Connecticut, and we would go just to any random game. You know, I didn't appreciate
lived
it
in
at the time,
Connecticut?
but, man, thinking back on it,
Are you from
man.
Connecticut?
I lived.
Oh, you're a
was
Yankee.
born
I
there,
knew
yeah.
it. I knew it.
Yeah, I moved here when I was 8 or
got you.
something like that, or 10. But yeah, so we used to go to the Army Navy, or not Army games, Army games, and man, that campus, that whole area is just
Yeah.
it was awesome. Like the stadium's up on a hill, and you kind of run down the hill after the game. It's a big field, and it's surprisingly good tailgating. It was enjoyable. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a trip too. Thinking about how old West Point is. I mean, you talk about going up for the campus and all, or seeing it, for games, but I mean, that thing is around since like the 1850s. That's a trip.
Dude, it's awesome. If you haven't seen it, just Google it and look at the images for West Point. It's gorgeous. It's super nice. Oh, speaking of super nice and maybe not super nice, how about how much Duplin wine are you gonna be drinking lately?
None, man, none. And it sucks. I love my Muscadine wine, but
Oh, it's garbage.
do you want to? Yeah, go ahead and explain what happened.
So, for those who have been living under a rock, the wife of the owner of Duplin Winery was a little offended when Peyton Wilson flipped from Carolina to NC State, which is probably the worst kept secret in the last month. He's been at NC State pretty much every weekend. He decommitted from Carolina. It was kind of the writing was on the wall. And when he did commit, she blasted him and said,
Well, it was his statement that she took offense with, wasn't it?
"Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Regardless, she blasted somebody, him, his statement, and us, and said basically he got the assholes that he deserves. Meaning, he's coming to state.
Well, she called him an actual asshole.
Yeah,
She said, "What an asshole." And then he's going to the school he deserves or something like that. Yeah, but she actually called the kid an asshole.
yeah. I mean, first of all, you don't tweet at recruits, right? Like Dustin always says, don't tweet at recruits.
No, that's terrible, man.
Don't be that guy. And then don't negative tweet at recruits. I mean, that's just, they're kids, man. He's 17, 18 years old. You're a grown ass woman. No.
That's not even the worst part of it for me. Because, we've all said things that we regretted at a time or two. Not necessarily to a child or a kid, but we did. But it was their response that really
Yeah.
really put it over the top for me. It happened. Just say she said some things she didn't. She regrets it, and I would have bought your wine. But instead, you say that your account was compromised and detrimental tweets were made. So I guess some other vineyard out there has thought, you know what? We got to take Duplin down. What are we going to do? You know what we should do? we should hack her Twitter account and tweet at a college football recruit, and it'll go down in flames. Who the hell is gonna? Okay, no. That's the stupidest thing. I didn't know Russia was involved, but apparently Russia hacked the wife's owner, or the owner's wife at Duplin, to purposefully tweet at this kid to bring them down. Process that. If you had just said you were sorry, this would have all been over by now. But instead, you make up the most bullshit excuse possible. That's what infuriated me more than anything. Just freaking own it, man. Like,
little winery on winery crime there.
I'm telling you, it's a savage business. It's cutthroat.
It had to be Chatham Hill Winery. They're coming for you. They're coming for you, Duplin.
It's baffling to me. I don't know how stupid they think people are.
Yeah, that was the best, man. That was like her account was compromised. No, she was drunk off your shitty wine, and she made this dumbass comment.
Yes.
It's just own it, walk it back, apologize. Like,
God, I was just so mad over that. That made me so much more angry than the tweet itself.
I mean, I had no plans of buying any wine from Duplin Winery, and I'm just going to continue not to do that.
I did. I like their muscadine. They made, if it's not something you can drink a lot of, but if you want like a sweet table wine, it's good. But I'm done with it. There's too many other. I try and buy local North Carolina products as much as I can. I'm not a hipster, but I try and do that. And that's just, that one's off the list now. I don't know what else to say.
That's just your lesson in how to not do social media in 2017, folks. If you run a business, if you make a mistake, own it and apologize, and don't pull some bullshit. I mean, how drunk were they when they said, hey, that's a good idea, let's say we were hacked? People will believe that.
Well, they say it on the news all the time. All the hacking going on, we can easily pass this off. Yeah, okay. All right, guys. Whatever. That's ridiculous, man.
That's gross. College football playoff. Clemson, Oklahoma, Georgia, Bama. Did they get it right?
I think they did, yeah. There's going to be a lot. You're either on Alabama or Ohio State side, but
yeah,
I understand that Bama didn't have that quality win, but they also didn't have that loss to Iowa. So
yeah, they got slaughtered.
Yeah, and Ohio State was in a lot of close games this year. Mm-hmm. Bama had a couple of close ones too, but I don't know. I think Bama takes Ohio State to the woodshed if they were to play. So
yeah, I think that's part of it. I think Ohio State's defense is really good. I think their offense has become one-dimensional. And, if I'm going to take the edge on that, I'm going to take Bama. They didn't get blown out by Iowa. They've, the one game they lost was to Auburn,
Yeah.
Who's really good too. So, I don't know. I think we're likely to see a Clemson-Oklahoma final game. What do you think?
I got Georgia Bama in the final.
Georgia Bama. All right, here we go. I like it.
I don't know. I can't see Saban losing to Clemson again. I think Clemson might be better.
Yeah.
But at that point, Dabo owns Saban. You know what I'm saying?
Fire Saban. Bring in Dabo.
Yeah, then you're going to have people, man, we just need to let Saban go and go get Dabo. I'm telling you, that will start if Clemson wins again. Well, we're not going to win anything else as long as Dabo's there. We got to bring Dabo home. That's going to be it. I can't see. I don't know. I think Bama wins that. Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield's good, but the defense is going to be a problem, I think.
Yeah.
I don't. The Big 12 is right up there with the Big 10 for me. I don't see them winning. That game would have to be it would be a shootout for them, and I can't see that against Georgia's defense.
Yeah, that's gonna be the interesting part. Georgia's just gonna run the ball like crazy. Oklahoma's not gonna be able to stop them. But can Georgia's secondary stop Baker Mayfield and Lincoln Riley's offense.
See, I think it's going to be more about Georgia's defensive front. I think they can get pressure on him quicker than they can worry, or so they won't have to worry about their secondary as much. I mean, he can throw the ball, obviously, but I think they get a lot of pressure on him. Remember, Georgia gave Notre Dame fits too.
Yeah.
Their D line is not a joke. They're very well coached defensively. Kirby Smart is a defensive-minded coach. Their DC's solid. Being considered for the Tennessee job now. So, I think, I don't know. It's a big spotlight for Baker Mayfield. He's arrogant. I like that. It's a big spot for Lincoln Riley. He's young. He's not been in this situation before. He's still got ECU on his mind. So we'll see.
Yeah, I didn't pull up the stats, but off the top of my head, the best defense Oklahoma has played. They've played Ohio State and TCU, and they've put up 35 and 41, I think, respectively in those games.
Right.
And
I don't consider TCU a good defense, though. I'll give them Ohio State, but
oh man, TCU's defense in about the middle of the year when they played the first time, they were
good for the Big 12.
Yeah, they were good. Yeah, they were good. Yeah, I guess for the Big 12, sure. So I think the storyline I'd watch in the Oklahoma-Georgia game is just Oklahoma's a little bit more balanced than Auburn has been, or some of these other teams that Georgia has beaten. Notre Dame, those are both run-first teams. In the SEC championship, man, Jarrett Stidham, the Auburn quarterback, was so bad. I mean, he was awful.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll get that from Oklahoma, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think Georgia's really good. I think they're all really good, so it's going to be really good 4 teams there.
Yeah, how bad were all the P5 championship games? They were pretty much trash.
They were, man. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised that Clemson destroyed Miami. Been saying all along we didn't think Miami was that good, and being such an emotional game, they got Notre Dame and Virginia Tech at home, and they played really well and whipped them. But they showed up in the Pittsburgh game and got beat, and then Clemson just stepped on their throat. I mean, it was embarrassing. So, and the rest of them weren't that good either. I mean, I just think there's that big of a gap, which is why I'm not for the 18 playoff right now. I would love to see UCF play somebody like Wisconsin or they're going to play Auburn, so I'm looking forward to that one. But I'd love to see them play in that game. But I don't think I want them in an 18 playoff. I just think that kind of dilutes it a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. You're going to have people bitching about the 18 playoff every year because every year teams are going to feel like they belong. So that's putting a lot of games on. That extra game matters. I don't think that's necessary. I think that the committee's got it right 2 years in a row. So
yeah. If Ohio State hadn't lost that second game, then they would have gotten in over Bama just because they won the Big Ten, I think. But that just getting slaughtered by Iowa, I think that was bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got Clemson. I think Clemson's going to win again. I don't have a lot of confidence in that. I think they're really good, but they are beatable. But top to bottom, I think they have the least flaws of any of those teams. Who do you think?
I kind of want to say Georgia, which would be the shocker of all of the 4, I guess. But I don't know. They look really good, man. Ever since that Auburn loss, they have turned it on.
They did look really good. I mean, they felt like they could have run wherever they wanted in that Auburn game. That was crazy.
So, yeah, I'll go Georgia.
All right. Speaking of crazy, it's coaching carousel season. It's my favorite season. I love it. I love the message board madness and all the rumors. It's amazing. I'm going to ask you first. Tennessee is on day, 23? Still don't have a coach? Who's next?
Oh, man. First off, I got to say, I told y'all there's no coaching search like a Tennessee coaching search. I mean, this thing has taken wings and just taken off. Right now, it's Fulmer got made AD, which I'm good with. There was a bunch of stuff about he was sabotaging the search. That's not accurate. I got to give some background on this. So there's two factions of Tennessee boosters. There's all the boosters, and then there's the Haslam family. And the Haslam family donates the most. They own, if you don't know that, they own Pilot, Truck Stops, Flying J. Dude owns the Browns. His brother is the governor of Tennessee. So they're in deep. And John Curry, who was the AD, was their boy. He did what they said. So they were coming back to tell all the other boosters that these conversations were happening with these coaches. There were people about ready to take the job. All the boosters believed them. They had no reason not to. Except that those talks never even happened. They had only talked to Greg Schiano. History there, Schiano interviewed for the Browns job a couple years ago. Haslam wanted to hire him, but they were catching a bunch of flack from the front office, so he didn't. So he loved Greg Schiano. Basically because Belichick and Urban Meyer talked about how great of a defensive coach he is. So this is wild stuff. So the change had to happen. The Haslams are being kind of pushed away. Fulmer's looking at a defensive-minded coach, which I think probably makes the most sense for that situation. The DC at Georgia, what's his name? Tucker, I believe. He's getting a lot of talk. Kevin Steele, who I do not want, he's the DC at Auburn now. He had a terrible run at Baylor as a head coach.
He was at Clemson defensive coordinator too, wasn't he?
I believe so. Jeremy Pruitt, who's the DC at Alabama, is getting a good look. And T. Martin's still in the mix. He's had multiple talks now. Tennessee quarterback won the national title in the 90s. OC at USC now. I'm on board with that. And then there's the Les Miles talk as well, which I would be all for, because I believe it would be him as head coach and then T. Martin in as offensive coordinator, as kind of a coach in waiting, which I would be great with, because T's a little young, so that would give him some time to get ready. But it's a shit show, man. It really is.
How far down the list are you?
Les Miles, I would have taken to start with, and I would have taken T. Martin to start with. So it's there. I'm kind of leaning more toward. I like the defensive coordinator approach. I like the guy from Georgia a lot. He's heavily from the Saban tree. He coached under Saban at Michigan State, and then he was at Alabama for a while. Went to Georgia. I want to put my my eggs in that basket, but I'm happy with the ones that they're talking about now, other than Kevin Steele. So,
Actually, man, how far until they call Dustin?
dude, I tweeted out I would do it for free as long as I got a houseboat on the Tennessee River docked outside with like all the basically potted meat and bush light I could have or could eat or consume. I'll do the job for free. With one of those, and I think I included a requirement was one of those like 1992 stand-up Kawasaki jet skis so I could go up and down the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it for free. It's been a disaster. It really has. I think they're going to come out okay. It won't be a splashy hire, but it'll be a good hire from what's there, as long as it's not steel.
Yeah. I don't know. Splashy hires. I'm looking around, and I'd say Chip Kelly is probably the best hire so far. Chip Kelly to UCLA. Dan Mullen's a really good hire for Florida. What do you think about Willie Taggart from Oregon going to Florida State?
I think that's one everybody saw coming. I think he'll do okay there. Jimbo was pretty toxic with the administration. That was just a bad situation for everybody involved. I think I saw, whether it's valid or not or true, Florida State players saying that they would leave if Jimbo stayed and that kind of thing. I think Oregon's in a little bit of trouble.
Who do they get?
That's a lot of trouble. I'm telling you, if Chip Kelly can get out of that UCLA contract, he'll be back there in a heartbeat. So I don't know what his buyout is, but they should go for it. I think Taggart will do okay. He's from Florida. Just it puts Oregon in a really bad spot.
Florida State's never had a problem recruiting, and so it'll be interesting to see how the rest of it kind of shakes out. You know, who does Taggart get in his staff? How does that? I mean, if he puts together a good staff, that actually kind of concerns me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think their offensive line can get better. I mean, everything can get better, and we already have to deal with Clemson. I don't want to deal with Florida State as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been the whole thing's been this is I don't know. It's been the craziest season I can remember for a while.
It's fantastic.
But I think I saw
Nebraska got out great with Scott Frost. That was probably executed as well as you could possibly get. What I think was shitty, though, and I put this out there after when it happened too, was Brett McMurphy leaking out a story during the game, right towards the end of that game.
Right.
And then the on-field reporter says, "Oh, so are you going to Nebraska?" I was like, "Man, that's a dick move." I thought that was really bad. That was poor form.
I don't know. It was. Going back to the Florida State thing, the coaching situation in Florida now is a trip. Like the state of Florida.
Oh yeah.
I think I saw like Mark out of the power programs there. Mark Richt in like year 2 has the most seniority now. But when
I think it's out of all the programs, right? I mean, all the like FAU, FIU.
I don't know. I didn't know about that part. I just knew it was the big ones. But I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, Butch Davis' first year, Lane's first year.
But yeah, you look at the coaching in Florida now, and it's fantastic. The best it's ever been.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. The other one was other thought I had was Texas A&M giving $75 million guaranteed to Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah. Hey, if they want to waste that money, and he'll.
Wow.
What has he done at Florida State without Jameis Winston?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, his staff this year is awful. I think that's the offensive line is just horrendous, and they're just not good with all that talent. I was disappointed. I think he's a fantastic coach, but man, that's a lot of money to guarantee to a guy who you just went 4-6,
Yeah.
6-6,
Yeah.
whatever they are.
They went down a quarterback, but there's no excuse for their season this year. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he does in the SEC West.
Man.
I mean, I guess it's not going to be that big of a difference coaching or talent wise from the Atlantic, but I don't know, man. It's interesting.
He's going to have to win a national title or be in that playoff in, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years, or they're going to be pissed.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's all guaranteed money, isn't it?
I know.
That's
insane.
I guess they were, shooting for the moon there, but we'll see what happens. I don't know.
That's called putting all of your eggs in one basket. I mean, that's it. If this doesn't work out, and I don't know what they're expecting. Texas A&M. I read the stat. They hadn't won a title since 1939. So that's the equivalent of NC State giving, I don't know, somebody a lot of money.
Right.
To like, all right, you better win now.
Yeah,
they haven't won in a long, long time. Yeah. And you expect him to come in and win. I don't know. I love the coaching madness. I think it's fantastic. We're gonna start to see the assistant coaches starting to move around soon when the rest of these head coaching jobs fill. But I have no idea who Oregon's gonna get. That's gonna be the one to watch right now.
Yeah, I think, speaking of assistants, the one that's kind of surprising that's not getting more looks than he is Brett Venables. But I've heard that he's a complete psycho as well.
I mean, I think he got to be at some point. But it's funny that Venables was run out of town at what was he, at Oklahoma? He was somewhere. And like, this guy's a bum. He gets to Clemson and he's, and almost overnight, he's a kingmaker.
Right. Yeah, but there's a lot of talent there, so.
Yeah, you can't have that crazy personality and be a good head coach, I think. I think there's too many things you have to keep organized and, on top of. I think you have to be systematic to be a good head coach, but the hell do I know? So.
Anyway, you got anything else, man?
No, I could ramble on coaches for a long time. That's all I got.
All right. Well, hope everybody's having a good time around the holidays, and we'll get to you next week, I guess.
All right, sounds good. Go Pack.
Go Pack.